Morning. I am nice and comfy today because it is cold. All right, so if you are here, what we're going to talk about today is biochemical individuality. Did you know that there are more than 42 million genetic possibilities from the same two parents? Two. Because of that, we all think that human beings should eat this way and do this, do that, and we're all going to be the same, right? It's going to work for everybody. Yet we have, I think we're working in the thousands now on the number of diet and nutrition plans out there. And the reality is they're going to work for groups of people. And while all of them are effective, they may not be effective for you. Can you notice that you're trying all these different things, yet you're still in pain? You're still eating stuff that's making you sick, yet you don't know what. Maybe you've done sensitivity testing and you've gone to the doctor and you've been through a multitude of lab testing, yet you're still looking for answers. That's where biochemical individuality comes into play. And this is not necessarily a new concept. This is something that has been around for a very long time. It's becoming more and more popular and more and more common to hear it because, I mean, personal opinion, I think a lot of people are just done. We're just done with hearing, well, it could be this, or it could be that, or it could be that. It could be a lot of things. The things that you're dealing with could be a lot of things. But can you just feel better first? Like, don't you feel like that some days where you're just like, I just want to feel better. Diagnosis, great. That's wonderful. That gives me much better direction, gives me a guide, but in reality, I just want to feel better. Right? So that's where this discussion comes up today. We talked about keto a little bit. We talked about intermittent fasting. In the past, we have talked about multiple different areas of diet and nutrition, inflammation, where chronic inflammation comes from, the whole gamut, right? And I have mentioned biochemical individuality in the past. So what I'll do, I believe we discussed this a few months ago, I think this fall in kind of a different capacity. So I'll put that down there. If you're on Facebook, I'm pulling you up right now. If you're on any other platform, hi, I should be able to see the comments over here on my fancy camera, aka telephone. Well, I guess mobile phone, not telephone. If you're new here, my name is Bonnie Hayes. I am a holistic nutritionist. I've been in this field for 18 years. And effectively, my goal is to help more than 1 billion women overcome chronic inflammation and just start feeling healthier and be able to maintain it long term so they can live the rest of their lives with a lot of abundance of energy and health and well-being. So let's get into this, shall we? I got my coffee. You got yours? Yours? All right, let's do this. So what is it? What's biochemical individuality? It is you. It is me. It is everybody. Biochemical individuality effectively means all the components that make you, okay? When you're looking at biochemical individuality, this is kind of something that came about to explain why a lot of nutritionists like myself were saying, well, have you listened to your cravings? Have you listened to your body? And yeah, there's intuitive eating out there, but here's the thing I need you to know. Intuitive eating is a diet plan, okay? There are parameters for it. Does biochemical individuality and the philosophy of biochemical individuality align with some of the principles of intuitive eating? Absolutely. It aligns actually with some of the principles of every single diet plan out there. Every single one. And while we found that each of these diet plans work so well for even some larger groups, they're not necessarily the solution for everybody. Okay, with biochemical individuality, all the components that make up you, that means your genetics, that means your environment, your upbringing, your lifestyle, how much crap you put your body through. Now, I don't know about you, I was a tomboy. Very clumsy tomboy. The people in the ER knew my name. Thank God CPS was not a thing as much as it is today, because my poor parents would have been run through the gamut, I'm telling you. And none of it was their fault. It wasn't. I'm not a child abuse victim that is coming out and going, oh no, my parents never abused me. No, I still trip over my own feet. I still end up with bruises. I don't know where they came from. I have one of the twins is exactly the same. And I see him just, hey, Leia, moving, and going so fast that he's not stopping, right? So, I mean, he's exactly like me. So all the crap that you put your body through, any health issues that you've had, regardless of whether they're genetic or lifestyle related, all of that plays a part in your unique individual needs, okay? Now, these individual needs relate to nutrient deficiencies, okay? If you're eating a specific diet plan, any of them, and you're not getting results, you're not getting energy, quite honestly, within the first week, with anything that is really, truly helpful for you, you should start feeling much more energetic, or at least feeling like you're just a little bit more awake and aware and mindful during the day without trying. Okay, that's the thing, without trying. It's a subconscious thing. If you're not feeling that, then there's something wonky and something's not aligned. Okay? If you're working with someone, especially if you're working with me, and this has happened, we need to talk, because there's something out of alignment for you, and we need to figure out what that is. With biochemical individuality, it follows this kinesiology principle that is the triad of health. Okay, physiology, psychology, and anatomy. All right, physiology is your nutrition, your biochemical identifiers, you, the things that make up you. Okay, that's everything we just talked about: genetics, lifestyle, environment, stressors, all of it. Okay, joys, hates, likes, dislikes, everything goes into your biochemical needs. All right, and when you need to address said needs, then what ultimately ends up happening is now you are fulfilling nutritional deficits or nutritional needs that your brain and your subconscious, sorry, I feel like this sucker's choking me right now. You're fulfilling needs that your subconscious has decided it should have to feel abundant, to feel healthy, to feel like it can not only sustain through your day, but it can thrive. Your body needs to feel like you're listening. Once they're addressed, your energy goes skyrocket through the roof. And I know there's some of you out there sitting there with fibro, you're sitting there with CFA or CFS, and you're sitting there, all right, and say, no, not going to happen. Yes, it can. I've had clients, years and years and years of clients who've proven this. And the deal with a lot of the autoimmune conditions, especially, is you have to start slow. going too drastic causes trauma, and then that trauma skews signals. So ultimately, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but ultimately what you need to do when you're trying to improve your health, you're trying to either lose weight or improve management of a condition so that you feel better, as much as absolutely possible, because obviously there's some conditions you don't heal from, you just manage, because now that you have them, now they're lifelong, right? But in order to do this, to figure out how to listen, not just listen, but interpret the signals that you're hearing. And cravings go a long way. Obviously, cravings are a part of it. They can be a really great start for a lot of people who are just kind of coming into the realization that they need to listen to their bodies. And how do you do so? You know, someone tells you, well, you listen to your body. Great, listen to my body to do what exactly? I know there's some of you out there doing this to me. So there's a couple of different ways you can figure this out. Okay? You can definitely do lab testing, and I always recommend lab testing, especially in situations where there are a lot of factors involved, right? Not just nutritionally. If you've been in and out of doctor's office trying to figure out what's happening, whether it's a holistic practitioner or it's a conventional medicine practitioner, if you're going in and out of doctor's office trying to figure out what's happening, we need to combine several elements of health, okay, and health care to figure this out. Just because the puzzle has a lot of pieces doesn't mean you can't put it all together. It's just going to take a little longer before you see the full picture. So if you're dealing with a situation like that, meditation is key. I always recommend the Calm app. I've been recommending the Moshi app to every adult I can find because, yes, while it is for kids, you guys, it is so helpful. It is so helpful. They have a lot of variety of different meditations within there, and yeah, it's for children, but it helps adults too. Headspace is another good one. I know there's plenty of others, but the meditation, the guided meditations, self-meditation, it is going to be crucial to you because you need patience in those situations. It's going to take a little bit of work, cognitive work, to piece together everything. Once you get it together, the rest of life will be a breeze because now you have all of your pieces, you nailed it down, and there's one caveat to that. Okay, you may not realize it, but while you do have those pieces all pulled together today, there's ebbs and flows in our world, right? There's ebbs and flows in our health. And what the greatest lesson, I always say the greatest lesson that comes out of working with me or working with any nutritionist like me is not that you achieve your goals as they stand today, but you learn the tools and you gain the tools to apply them in the future. Because those ebbs and flows in the world, in our universe, from internal to external, they can change your nutrition needs. And if you've fallen out of practice or your normal patterns, so you're going to have to come back to the center. And sometimes you got to start completely over to figure out what your new ones are. Sometimes it's a minor shift, and a lot of people that I work with can actually go with the flow and just kind of flow with their body as the world goes by, right? As their lives go by. Something hits you, and life hits you with a curveball. And it's a traumatic curveball, good or bad. Sometimes that's not possible. So having the tools to come back to center, where you can figure out what your current biochemical needs are as they stand today, or whatever point in the future. Put so much control into your hands, and your health is yours. Nobody else is going to care as much about your health than you, because your survival depends on it. And you get to decide, do I want to survive or do I want to thrive? I don't want to live a life where I feel like at the end I just lived. I'm just here. Screw that. We're only here for a little bit. Nobody has a guarantee of what happens when we're gone. We don't know if we're just not here. We don't know if there's ghost spirits, if you turn into a spirit guide. I believe in those, by the way. But, in reality, we don't know. There's no scientific proof one way or the other. So why not enjoy what you have and learn the tools that will help you do so without bringing you back to this pain point? Because for a lot of people that I start working with, and a lot of you listening, you're in a place where things just hurt. Your brain's foggy, you have no energy, you're not sleeping well, you don't know which end is up, and you can't figure out what the next step is, so screw it all, right? You don't go down that road. You look at where your body is, where your mind is. Remember? Physiology, psychology, and anatomy. Those three sides, the triad of health, they align well with the pillars of health. And I'll include a link in the description in YouTube, because I did a video describing and explaining the pillars of health, I think about a month ago. So I'll put the link down below so you guys can have it, okay? And that'll give you some insight into why there's a triad of health. So you have your triad of health. The triad of health basically folds out, and you have all of your pillars, right? Because when you look at the pillars of health, they're actually categorized. You know that? All right, so let's get back into it. So with biochemical individuality, here's kind of how it became more and more popular. They developed the food pyramid in the 90s, right? I think it was the 90s. Could have been the 80s. I don't know. I don't pay much attention to that one just because the development of it actually came more from politics and marketing than it did from realistic scientific needs, okay? And dietitians and nutritionists have been fighting this since day one. Because, truth be told, there are some of us who are going to gravitate and do better on more animal protein versus more vegetables. There's some of us that are going to do better with grains in our diet. Some of us that are going to do better without grains in our diet. There's nothing in this world that says you have to eat something. Like, you don't have to eat one type of food. There are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of food in this world, okay? You can eat a whole food diet and not eat any of the same foods as the person next. It's entirely possible. And both of you could be healthy as horses. The joy of being a human, of being in this world is there's an abundance, there is variety. We need to tell our brains this, because once your subconscious figures it out, that's when the energy comes out. That's when your cravings start aligning with what you need, versus what USDA says everybody needs. The issue with the food pyramid, the issue with the daily recommended, or the recommended daily allowances in macro and micronutrients is this. It was based on the assumption that human beings share the same exact metabolism and the same exact nutrient absorption possibilities. Functionally, we function similarly. There's no question about it. If you're human, this is how you function. These are the biological processes that our bodies go through. Okay? But some of us need more of that metabolism boost in some other fashion, right? We need to kind of keep our body in check. Some of us don't. That's why you see two people, right? You can see twins out there, and there are twins where one is bigger than the other. One is obese, one is not. They're eating the same diet. You got Slim Jim over there eating the worst food on the planet, processed here and there and left and right, and he's super skinny. And it's what it used to be called the skinny fat. I don't know if it's still called that. I never really liked that, so I don't know if that's what it's called. But it's a really good description of the differences between different. We're all different, and the things that we experience in life definitely determine what we need. So, good example. You've now gone and decided you're going to run a marathon. And I'm choosing this because I know this one well. I know this one really well. There's a lot of you that I've helped through this. But you don't feel like you need to prep for a marathon. So, what do you do? Now you're going to shift so that you can fuel your body through 26 miles. But you've got to figure out what those needs are first so that you can kind of adjust a little bit and make sure that as you go through to the finish line that you're fueled and you're able to sustain activity for that duration of time. It's very different. So what happens when you follow just RDA recommendations or you follow programs just because is that your body kind of goes into this state that it's not getting what it wants or what it actually needs to function optimally, right? So it starts burning things. It starts chemically processing things. And when I talk about processed foods, processed ingredients, I actually mean this as well. So if you're not providing your body what it actually needs, realistically needs, okay, and it converts, our body has this amazing ability to heal itself. It will convert things that you feed it into molecules it needs. Now, these are not going to be molecules that are as effective. Not to get too scary here, but a lot of times what happens is your body converts those molecules into much lesser effective molecules. So ADP is a prime example. What happens if you need energy, but what's been fueling your body and fueling energy production is the worst processed crap on the planet? I don't know what that is, but fast food, you're eating Big Macs 6 times a day with French fries and ice cream and I don't know, toss whatever else you want. And you're eating all these foods. Your body has to get the tools or the ingredients to make energy. But you haven't given it energy. What you've given it is chemicals, right? Because a lot of the preservatives and foods like that, they come from chemicals. Are they getting better? Yes, but we are not there yet. So it comes from chemicals, so that's what your body's consuming, and your body is now going, okay, but we need this, and we have this. So we need to take this and turn it into this. It doesn't. It does it effectively, but the product is not going to be anywhere close to what you actually need. Micronutrients, there's not really any way for your body to convert things into the micronutrients you need. It either gets it or it doesn't. Okay? And that's why this whole conversion is so depleting. So it converts and it gives you energy, but it doesn't give you that much. So when you start eating more whole foods, you start eating healthier foods, and you start doing so in a way brings you back to neutral, okay? And from neutral, start sending you signals. So I just started this 3-week group program, and I've been working on a 3-week program for you guys that is very specific to the goals that I put in the group, okay? And the group program I just started is completely separate. One of the things that we talked about last week and are going to continue to talk about, because I tend to harp on this, is the fact that within that 3-week time frame, you're coming back to neutral. That usually happens between days. Sometimes it takes till day 14, but then that final week, instead of eating 4 to 6 times a day, your brain is now forgetting things. It's forgetting the afternoon snack, or it's forgetting the morning snack. You know, or instead of this is what's on your menu, but your brain, it's struggling. It doesn't want you to eat this. It doesn't want you to eat the 2 eggs and, spinach and tomatoes. It wants you to eat the yogurt, the fruit. Why would it change? Maybe you need some more probiotics. Maybe you need the B vitamins and the vitamin C that are in the berries. That is in that yogurt, that's in that fruit. It might just be that that's what you need. That's what your body needs. It needs that more than it needs this. More than it needs that solid protein from the spinach, the tomatoes. You know what I'm saying? So that last week, what ends up happening is you just kind of gravitate. Your body starts shifting a little bit. And if you're able to get to a place within that first week or so where you can take a breath, you can release the fogginess, and you can start listening your body, meaning not just cravings. You can hear the energy. You can understand that the energy that you're feeling, the energy that helps you get up out of bed, easier, healthier, better, bright and wide-eyed, ready to take on the world, is much different than it was 2 weeks prior. There's a reason for that. So your body during that last week is really kind of pulling you and pushing and kind of nudging you into the place that it wants you to be, the foods it wants you to eat, because those are the nutrients that you need more of. That's biochemical individuality. And by stopping and listening to everything that your body is saying, the joint stiffness, brain fog is a big one, you guys. If you're feeling brain fog or you're feeling lethargic in any way, shape, or form, those 2 signals are signs that whatever you've just eaten is not necessarily what your body needs. You feel energized after you eat, and that's exactly what your body needed in that moment in time. And yeah, it's that simple. The hard part's figuring it out. The hard part is putting together those puzzle pieces. And I know I'm sitting here and you guys are like, okay, you're making it sound so easy. It is. Don't let marketing, don't let conventional science tell you any different. because we make things harder than they actually need to be. I was one of them. I was just like you, and man, when I get stubborn, you cannot push me in the right direction. You can't. I will resist you every step of the way, even if I know you're right. And I know I'm not alone. You know who I'm talking to. All right, so are there any sort of guidelines, things that you should look for? Well, one thing that scientifically has been discovered is that mental health definitely will determine what direction you want to go in as far as your protein sources, right? And your carbohydrate sources. So let's say you struggle with serotonin. For whatever reason, your serotonin is always low. You fight depression. You might have, I don't even think it's bipolar. Forgive me for not like that. But any of the mental illnesses that are depressive, I don't know how else to say that. Depression would be a symptom of your mental health. In those cases, then actually using animal protein is really effective in helping to raise those serotonin levels and provide a little bit more stability and balance. Now, I'm not saying ignore your vegetables and your fruits and your plants. Just, you're going to need more animal protein than somebody else. Okay? If you're struggling with anxiety in any way, shape, or form, we're not going to go down the whole rabbit hole like with depression. If you're fighting with anxiety in any way, shape, or form, okay, then plants are your friend. They are your best friend. They help you feel the healthiest. And I mean, there's a lot of other components to that's not it. But if you're struggling with either depression or anxiety, that's going to give you a base. And you start at that base. You start listening, start paying attention. And the best way I can suggest and recommend that you pay attention is to start writing things down. Like, you track your sleep. And there's devices that track our sleep all the time. And you track how you feel after you eat something. That's a good indicator of getting things that you need versus not. And I'm not saying you have to go out and, this meal didn't give me as much energy as I thought it should, so let me go eat something else. That's not what I'm saying. It's not that you want to look at this and say, oh, it's taking me energy today. You want to track it for a couple of days, and then you want to go back and look with a fresh eye. Because at that point, you'll be able to see patterns, which you're looking for. You're looking for patterns. Nature in and of itself is just a bunch of patterns. So when you can figure out what your patterns are, and if your life is all over the world and you have a lot of stuff happening, then you can figure out the patterns that you need for various situations. Okay? A little bit more work, but I mean, really, it's just, a couple more weeks. You really could figure all this out. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but once you figure it out, you're golden. You are golden. And tracking and writing things down helps dramatically. And we talked about this before. Can you tell me why? Because our brain lies to ourselves. We have this protective parent in our subconscious. It doesn't want us to go out and get hurt. It's protect us. But in protecting us, it's hiding things from us. It's putting protections in place that we may not want at that moment because we're trying to figure something out. You write things down, you can't lie to yourself. Possible. I mean, you could, but then you're going to look back at the press and go, wait, that's not what happened. There's something about writing it down. When we speak to ourselves, when we speak to others, our brain likes to skew things, right? But when we write it down, it's almost like the brain cannot write and see and lie to itself. So if you're struggling to try and figure out anything, any health-oriented or otherwise, write it down. Write it down, get it out of your head, leave, and then come back to it. And when you come back to it, a lot of times what happens is you leave it alone, you come back to it a day or so later, and the answer is screaming at you in neon. I have seen it happen so often. And to anyone that thinks I laughed at them during the moment, I didn't. It gives me so much joy that I cackle. And I chuckle about it because to see the difference in your face, and you don't even realize it, but when you go from not knowing what direction to go in, not knowing what to eat, when to eat, how to eat, not knowing how to figure your body and all this crap out, to your aha moment, your face lights up. Your face lights up, your chest gets up. I mean, you're just this confident walking self. It's amazing. So as you're navigating through all of this and trying to figure out your health, your well-being, how to eat so that you can heal and sustain this healed body, here's the things that I can suggest that you do, okay, to kind of align within this biochemical individuality philosophy. Because I do believe that we're all unicorns. We're not generic. I'm not generic. You're not generic. You didn't buy me in that big old bag in the cereal aisle. That's not where I came from. That's not where you came from. You're a unicorn. Be a unicorn. It's okay. If you want to be, what are those things called? Half man, half horse. I don't know what it's called. Oh my god. I know this stuff, and right now my brain is just going, yeah, we're gonna play with you. All right, so these are the suggestions I have for you, regardless of whether you're a unicorn or you're some other unique mythical creature. Okay. Bring your body back to neutral. How do you do this? You take a good 2 to 3 week time period. You're going to eat whole foods. You're going to reduce as much chronic inflammatory foods, or not chronic. You're going to reduce as many inflammatory foods as possible. If at all possible, eliminate them from your diet. If you know what your inflammatory markers are and the foods that cause you inflammation, by all means, eliminate those. Don't worry about the rest. If you don't, the top 3, gluten, dairy, and soy. And usually when I'm doing a group program that's really just striving to be healthier, I recommend gluten and dairy. It's a lot easier to get lessons regarding health and healing, especially in a group setting like that, when all you have to worry about are 2 ingredients, especially when those 2 ingredients are things that you eat constantly, and now you have to replace them with something, or you have to eliminate them completely and try and fulfill that nutritional gap. You're already transitioning your diet. It can feel very overwhelming to make too many changes all at one time. It's still effective to only eliminate 2 versus the 3. And I think we're now up to 8 or 9 common inflammatory markers. Whole 30 is a really good program to follow because it eliminates all of them. And I mean, it has some suggestions where I don't agree with them, but overall, that is Full 30 is a really good program. If you have questions about that or how to do that, given your unique situation, health-wise, physical, financial, lifestyle, all of it combined, let's chat. It doesn't cost you anything except time to have a little conversation. A lot of my conversations actually end up with the people I talk to finding answers. Whether they work with me or not, they find answers and get onto a path of healing that they weren't on before. So conversation is free. Hop into my DMs, we'll get something scheduled. You want to look into yourself. So introspection. You want to really look into yourself. Whatever trauma in your life you have not dealt with can be a hindrance to health. It can contribute to chronic inflammation. This is part of the emotional well-being, your psychological well-being, mental health. It can actually contribute to a lot of negative health and healing bodily processes. It can just be a wall and an obstacle. So if you're struggling and you've done everything, including all the things I recommend and everybody else recommends, you've gone to Unique, you've just done it all. Not saying it's going to be easy, but you need to look at whatever trauma you haven't healed from. And just addressing it, just saying, okay, let's heal from this. A lot of times that is all your brain needs to start working with you, instead of trying to continue to protect you from the pain associated with whatever that trauma is. And there can be some pretty traumatic, painful situations in your past. And I get it. That's why there's professionals. I'm a nutritionist. I can help you with your food. That's what I can do. And I'm a really good listener. So I don't have any issue listening. But sometimes you need a psychologist, you need a counselor, you need somebody else to help. And that kind of goes with the very final element that you need to try and determine and figure out what your biochemical individual needs are. And that's having a support system. Just because you don't have one at home doesn't mean that you don't have one. I haven't found them yet. There are a bazillion Facebook groups out there, and that's just the freebies. YouTube has communities now. All the other apps are working that way as well. You can hire professionals, counselors, psychologists, people like myself who focus on specific areas of health and well-being. For me, that's going to be your diet. As a holistic nutritionist, we believe in healing the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. So we are going to talk healthy lifestyle and modifications in those areas, but there's areas that I can't help with. I'm not qualified to help with. So pulling together your support system based on whatever you need is part of biochemical individual health and well-being and healing. It's part of using that philosophy to heal, to manage, to maintain, and to just get back to healthy. Even if you feel like you've never seen healthy, at some point in your life you did. You don't realize it. It might have been when you were a baby. But you still saw it. Your brain knows it. It's a primal instinct. We just need to shift your primal instincts back to that. And a healthy support system does it every time. to, someone that you can celebrate with, someone that you can, maybe not just even one person. Just know you don't have to have that support system at home. It helps, but I know a lot of people who just don't have it because of their life situations. It's just not there. So just know it's there. You just have to find yours. All right, you guys. So that is everything I have for you today on biochemical individuality. It is most definitely just figuring out you, figuring out what you need. And remember, you're not generic. You're a unicorn. You're special. You're unique. And you should trust yourself a little bit. Maybe a lot. Because your gut instinct, it's there. It knows what you need, even if you're not ready to listen to it. All right, you guys, if you have questions, I'm here, available. As always, once this pops up on YouTube, there will be, oh, no, over there. Videos for you to watch over here. It'll be basically the next in the series. And like I said, I'll put a couple of those links down in the description, so you can pop over to those videos and check them out. Hope everyone has a wonderful week. I am flying home. I am going to take the boys and we're going to go home. We're going to spend some time with my brother and my sister-in-law and nephews, and then we're going to go up to the family farm and show the boys what it's like up there, because Brian hasn't even experienced that yet. And I grew up going there. So we're going to go up and we're going to let the toddlers run around. I'm so excited. So heads up, I will be in an area that really doesn't have cell phone service. What's going to happen on Monday is we will still have a video, because I don't remember what the topic is off the top of my head. But whatever that topic was that I scheduled, it will be a recording. It will still play live as this is playing. Just know it is going to be previously recorded. Okay. Any comments, things like that? I'm not sure if you can see them live back in service that afternoon. So if I am not able to see you live in your comments, I will come back and I will answer all of your comments, questions, and address things. Same thing for Thursday. I haven't decided Thursday night. I might let that play out and the rest earlier in the day. We'll see. Oh yeah, it's kind of running out of time, so so that might get canceled. If it does, you'll get a double dose next week of both recipes from this week and next week. So heads up. Have a wonderful week. Love you guys. Cheers.